My name is Derek McCarter, and this is my persuasive speech on racism and discrimination for Communications 101 at Liberty University Online. When we watch the news or when we read newspapers, all over the pages we see recent events from Baltimore all the way to Ferguson, and they've become household topics in our discussions with our family. But what is the card that is being pushed in these talks, in these discussions? And the card that's being pushed is race. In the culture we live in, we are persuaded to believe that there are many different races in the world. White, black, Asian, and the list can go on, but Scripture teaches us that there is one race, the human race, which shows us the issue is not racial, but it's a heart issue. It's a heart issue among people. You see, it's not just a black and white issue. It goes far beyond merely two groups of people, but all across the spectrum, all across the world, there's debate on races. But the issue is our heart, and the issue needs to be solved because people of all nationalities should be treated with dignity and respect without discrimination. See, if we were honest, there is reconciliation on both sides of the fence that needs to happen. You see, the only way that we as a people can get over the issue of race and discrimination is to be honest with ourselves and look at the facts that are laid down before us. You see, no one is born racist. It's a learned behavior. A behavior that we need to teach our children is wrong. See, Alex Haley, an author of many books including Roots, states that racism is taught in our society. It is not automatic, it is learned. It's a learned behavior toward persons with dissimilar physical characteristics. See, in my informative speech that I did a couple weeks ago, I spoke about a culture reaching our generation through our educational system. And one of the things that they're teaching in our educational system, I said, was the topic of evolution. But in the topic of evolution, what is being taught is a superior race. So the question becomes, how are they being taught this? And it's through this evolutionary theory. Ken Ham, in his book The Lie, states this regarding evolution in our school systems. He says, the incredible thing is that we live in a society that states it wants to be rid of racist attitudes, yet we are conditioned to racist attitudes by our very educational system, and the whole foundational basis for racism permeates people's minds. If this is what's being taught in our schools, like I said last week, we need to fix this issue in our educational system. See, the evolutionary theory at its core teaches us that teaches our young people and teaches us that there is a superior race, whatever that race may be, and that it's okay to discriminate against, because the weak have to die. The weak have to be shoved down for the elite to move on. And this was Adolf Hitler's worldview in killing off the Jewish race, because he believed them to be subhuman. And see, Sir Arthur Keith, a well-known evolutionist, defends Hitler by saying this in his book Evolution and Ethics. He says, we see Hitler devoutly convinced that evolution produces the only real basis for national policy. The means he adopted to secure the destiny of his race and the people were organizedly slaughtered, because according to evolution, the weak have to die. So secularized culture believes through evolution that we are separated into races, and that some races are weaker. But what does Christians believe, or what should we believe as Christians? Genesis 3:20 states that man or Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And what this Adam Clark says, what this verse means is, therefore Adam called his wife's name Life, because Eve means life, because she was to be the mother of all human beings. And I know what you're thinking. This is crazy, preposterous. How can all these different colored people, how can all these nationalities come from one person? It's physically impossible. And some put it in as just biblical poetry. So I'm going to step away from my Bible for a minute and get into some scientific research. See, sometimes people try to pit science against faith, but there's this overlap that you cannot deny. There's an overlap that you cannot deny when it comes to science and Scripture and faith. Like, it's fun to watch science catch up with the truth of Scripture. See, recently it had been discovered that not only sociologically is the Bible truthful, but also biologically is the Bible true and that it can be trusted. You see, we have mapped the human genome. And see, I find this stuff amazing because what they're finding is that regardless of what color we are, the Human Genome Project states that our genetic DNA is 99.9% identical to everyone else's in the world, which traces back to a single origin. That there was a single man we all came from, and what I want to say is welcome to Genesis 1 science. Here's what I mean. David Dwight wrote concerning this genome research in his book History of Life that he says this: based on the Y chromosome analysis or the mitochondrial DNA, all males descended from a common Adam or a common man, and everyone descended from a common mitochondrial Eve. Now they're off on the years by a couple of thousand years, but what they're saying is that the human races can be boiled down to one man and one woman, no matter what race we are. So basically, Dwight is saying that what Genesis 3:20 states is now scientifically proven to be fact, which shows there's only one race, and that is the human race. Dr. Venture from the National Institute of Health, who is a secular scientist, recently announced that they have put together a draft of the full human genome. And the researchers that did research with him unanimously announced that there is one race, and that is the human race. So it shows no matter what color you are or where you're from, biblically and scientifically we are all brothers, cousins, uncles, and aunts. We are all one big family, one race, the human race. And even the New Testament confirms this. In Acts 17:26 it says, "And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and their boundaries of their habitation." So what can we do as Christians in the fight against racism and discrimination? Okay? With the culture that we live in that tries to persuade us that there's many races and that there are some that are more dominant than the others, what can we do? And the answer is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing unless we have a change of heart. See, Martin Luther once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." Until we start to love one another as equals, we will never be able to get over this hump that's in our culture and racism. Baltimore will continue to happen. Ferguson will continue to happen. Everything will continue to everything will happen. Continue to happen. So like a family, I'm calling all of us to love one another, serve one another, and be kind to one another. Thank you.